just missing Alice right now, but it's 6:01, and to respect everybody's time, I say we go ahead and call the meeting to order. So I'm going to go ahead and call the Norwood City School District Board of Education meeting for July 21st, 2022 to order. The Norwood City School District Board of Education follows a bi-monthly meeting schedule. The first meeting of the month is called our committee meeting. This meeting, we discuss fully our agenda for the board meeting to be held the third Thursday of each month. As board members, we encourage you to attend, watch, and listen to our committee discussion, which results in actions at the board meetings. For full disclosure, our committee meetings and board meetings are always announced, video and audio taped, as well as posted to our webpage for your view. All of our meetings are public and visitors are always welcome. Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood.
Present.
Mrs. Cole.
Present.
Ms. Ballard.
Present.
Mrs. Rarick is absent. And Mr. Taylor.
Present.
I'd like to ask everyone to please stand, face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so just a couple of housekeeping items. The first is I'd like to make a motion to adopt our agenda as written.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the agenda or changes that need to be made? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
With the agenda approved, we'll move on to the next housekeeping items, and those are approval of the minutes for the regular board meeting held June 21st, the minutes for the Finance Committee meeting held July 12th, the minutes for the committee meeting also held on July 12th. I'd like to make a motion that we approve those minutes as presented to us.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
All right, with that approved, we'll move on to section 2 on our agenda, and that's discussion items, and I believe we have a construction update with Mr. Peter. So I'd like to turn the floor over to him.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to start talking about Williams Avenue Elementary and what's been going on there. We did have Plains movers on site last week, and they got the majority of the furniture and equipment and stuff moved from here in the middle school over to Williams Avenue. You may remember I told you last week there were 3 rooms that did not have flooring or ceilings ready yet, so we had to find places to hide that furniture and stuff until those rooms were ready. We did pass an above ceiling inspection late last week. I think it was Wednesday, maybe Thursday. So we were allowed to continue getting the ceilings installed, which we have in 2 of those 3 rooms, and we have flooring installed in those same 2 rooms. So we just need to get some wax on the floor, and we can get the furniture moved into the rooms they belong in. And then the next step would be to get our certificate of occupancy from the building department.
Okay.
And we should be ready to go there. Over at the high school, as we discussed last week, we were presented 2 scenarios with the delay of the air handler units. One was to get temporary unit installed to supply air to the hallways and classrooms that we need while we're continuing to get the existing air handler units demoed and the new units installed so we can continue to work after the start of school date. We have received pricing for those 2 scenarios, and we've decided to go with the cheaper one, which enables us to continue working right away. I'm sorry, I think the other scenario was to push everything back to next summer, which would incur a lot of other expenses that we're not looking to take on. So the architects and the GCs have all advised us that the best way to go is to push forward and get this done as soon as the new air handlers arrive here in town. We do believe, though, that because it is an emergency situation, we feel that we can use ESSER money to cover that cost. Other than that, things are going along well. We're starting to see ceiling pads going in at the high school. We've done a lot of work getting the floors. Scarlet and Gray has done quite a bit getting the old wax scraped up or stripped. And hopefully as construction ends, they can start getting fresh wax on the floors. And in my opinion, it has made a heck of a difference. The halls are brighter. Fresh paint has helped. It really is starting to come together.
Good deal. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Peter? I have one question, and it's probably the most important question that everybody's wondering, now that everything's starting to come together, is when can we get back into the mini auditorium?
The mini
That was
auditorium.
my question, Brandon.
Oh, sorry, Amber.
No, thank you.
The mini auditorium is served by Air Handler 6. With the new construction, Air Handler 6 has been divided into basically 3 sub-air handlers. So they're starting to call them 6A, 6B, and 6C. I'm not exactly sure which sub-unit handles the air handler, but I am told that Air Handler 6 and all 3 of its sub-units have been installed. It gets its cool air, though, from the chiller and the cooling tower, which is not quite ready yet. It is in place. It has been assembled. They just have a little bit more piping to do. There was a delay with a 3-way valve that they had to get. I think it has arrived, so they're trying to get that put together. And then I think there's some electrical hookup. So of all the air handlers, that honestly should be the first one that should come online. But I think our big delay there is the chiller and cooling tower part of it.
Okay, so would it be out of line to plan for the August board meeting in there, or September committee meeting?
I think September probably looks a little bit more likely. August would be a push.
Okay,
Now, are we going to go back there for committee? Because we used to do committee, well, can't do committee there, but the committee was at the board office and then the regular meeting.
I would do both meetings there.
Yeah, I would love to switch it to where we can do both meetings in the same location, if possible, going forward, whenever we're allowed to do so.
Yeah, it would just make more sense just to, I mean, we've been doing both committee meetings and board meetings here in
Yeah,
this
that's true.
space. I just don't see why we can't do both of those at the mini auditorium once it's available.
Yeah, makes sense.
Is our technology equipment ready?
I did talk to Randall this afternoon, and he said they have installed the large TVs. The 3 screens are installed, but the mixer isn't here and some other sound equipment, he said.
Okay. Well, I mean, if we plan for that second Tuesday, whatever the Tuesday is before the 3rd Thursday in September, whatever date that is, let's see if we can't make that happen. And be back in our traditional home. Thank you, Mr. Peter, for the
Okay.
update.
All right, thank you.
All right. With that, we'll move on to item 3 in our agenda, and this is the Education Committee report. And I'd like to turn the floor over to Board Member Ms. Ballard.
Hang on 1 second, guys. If the board will indulge me and move to the second one, I'm trying to get to a place where I can open my Chromebook type stuff. It's not cooperating with me. If you give me just a moment.
Okay, that's fine. We can move on to the next item on the agenda and come back to you. Is that, do we need to officially vote to do that?
I think it's okay.
I think it's okay.
Appreciate you. It's loading.
No, you're fine. We'll move on to the next item. Item number 4 is personnel, board recommendations. And so this is a renewal contract of our superintendent. We did discuss this at the last meeting, that we were going to renew the contract of our current superintendent for another 4 years. And so that contract is before us to approve here tonight. So I would like to make a motion to approve the resolution to renew Mary Ronan as district superintendent and authorizing myself and the treasurer to enter into a contract with Mary Ronan for the office of district superintendent. May I have a second?
I will second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Ballard, do you have anything to say to the renewal of the superintendent?
I absolutely love Mary, and I'm excited that we get to keep her as long as she wants to stay with us.
All right. Anybody else? So,
Yay.
yay. So this is, as far as negotiations, this was, absolutely a no-brainer. So this provides stability to the district. Very happy with the direction it's going and the leadership that we have pulled together. So having that stability for another 4 years, I mean, a lot of other districts cannot say the same thing. I agree. And I'm gonna pause
Is she
for just a
blushing?
moment.
I think she might be blushing.
No, she is blushing. Alice just walked in.
Hey! I totally lost track of time. It's for an exciting reason. I'll tell you later, I guess.
You're fine. So Alice, right now, we've just made a motion to approve the resolution to renew Mary's contract.
Oh, fabulous.
Right.
Your timing is perfect.
Your timing is perfect.
We have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anything, Alice, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Is there anything you would like to discuss or say?
Thank you for being with us, Mary.
Thank you for having me. You're very welcome.
All right, Ms. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Stratwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
With that approved, we will enter into a contract to have Mary Ronan as our district superintendent for another 4 years.
Woo! 4? Yes.
All right, Ms. Ballard, are you ready? Okay, so we're going to go back to item number 3, which is the Education Committee report. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Board Member Ms. Ballard.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We did not have any new items added to the list of approved field trips that we discussed at last week's meeting. There are 3 in board docs: the BB Riverboat Tour, which happened last week, our Coastside trip to Columbus, and an upcoming trip to the Newport Aquarium. And those are all posted through our summer field trips with Avenues for Success. And that concludes my report.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve those items as presented to us.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Ms. Stratwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
With that approved, we'll move on to item number 5 in our agenda, and this is Personnel Superintendent Recommendations. And I'd like to turn the floor over to Superintendent Ronan.
Thank you, President Atwood. 5.01 is resignation, and Monica Espanol and Rachel Mullins, we're sorry to see them go, but they are leaving the district. Now, the exciting news is 5.02 employment, so we are so happy that I'd like to introduce our new staff members. Amy Conwell is going to be our new high school Spanish teacher, and she's coming to us from Moeller. Alexandra Haggerty, I believe you met her last week, an EL teacher, and she's coming to us from Winton Woods. So we're delighted to have her. And we have our own Ashlyn Stevens here, a Norwood graduate, valedictorian, Bob Longhorn scholarship awardee. So welcome back.
Girl
We are
Scout.
so happy. And, Girl Scout too. All right, I missed that. So we are thrilled that you're back with us. And we also have Allison Ross, and she is going to be the new preschool teacher at Norwood View.
I
So-
also want to say Ashland is a Gold Award Girl Scout.
Oh, that's
member,
impressive.
Which is like
That's like the Eagle Scout.
Yes, and not enough people talk about it. It's awesome.
So welcome. Thank you. All right, item number 2. These are our teachers on their second year of their contract for your approval. Number 3 are Mr. Bowman on the third year contract. And the 4th item, those are our teachers who are moving on to continuing contract in the district. Number 5, that is employment of 2 of our exempt employees. Number 6, supplemental contracts. As you can see, we've got some volleyball and soccer coaches here. Number 7, Avenues for Success, site coordinators, and also some curriculum writers for their program. Number 8, summer school. We did have to hire a few people at the last minute. So Melissa Burns was, we're thankful she filled in for us. 9 is change in status and on those 3 individuals that currently have contracts. We're simply changing what they say. Number 10, again, most of these are avenues for success. Mrs. Ferguson and also some of our psychologists who work extra days at the end of the school year and at the beginning of the next school year. Let's see, number 11. This is the supplemental salary schedule. We negotiated with NTA. We put together an MOU saying we would have a joint committee that would update the coaching stipends and the club stipend of employees. So the committee met at the end of June, beginning of July, came up with a new salary schedule. NTA has already approved it, so it is here tonight for your approval. Number 12, that is our exempt and manager salary schedule that has been updated this year. And then 13 and 14, we still have a few fall sports that we are hiring for, as you can see, football, soccer. So those are some of our coaches. And with that concludes the personnel recommendations.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the superintendent recommendations number 1 through number 14 as presented to us.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Miss Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Verica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
With that, all the employment recommendations have been board approved. And we'll move on to the next item in our agenda. This is the policy committee report. I'd like to turn the floor over to Vice President Kroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this month we have the second reading for, well, 2/3, however you want to look at it. 2 of them are the same. But the first one is ECA, and this is the Building and Grounds Security. So this just states that the staff must follow the safety policies and school emergency operations plan. So this is to make sure, we've added in there to make sure that the exterior doors remain locked at all times. And then KD, which is also BBDH. This is about public participation at the board meetings. So this just acknowledges that we are not, as a board, able to comment on public participation when those folks come to talk with us, but the administration will follow through with them as needed. So those are our two policies, the second reading. So I will motion that we approve those 2 policies.
I will second. Is there any discussion on these policies?
Yeah, concerning the KD and BBDH, that is not, just to be clear, it is not anything new that we voted on. It has been in place for a number of years, correct?
You are correct. So that policy has been in place for decades.
Okay.
It is not anything new. The only thing that we have done, and it was suggested by Board Member Ballard, was that we just added some clarifying language. So that way people don't have to wonder why we're not having an active discussion. So public comment is not active discussion. It's the public's opportunity to come and address us. So if we choose to respond back to them after the board meeting, or the administration chooses to follow up with them, those are the proper ways in order to handle those situations. A lot of times you'll see people get emotional and in the heat of the moment in a public meeting and may say things that just aren't appropriate, because a lot of times when people address the board, they're doing it for an emotional reason. There's a reason why they're here and they're talking to us and they're emotionally invested into it. And so it's just better if we handle it the way that it's supposed to be handled, and this is the way it's been done for as long as I can remember. So this isn't anything new, this isn't changing it, or this isn't creating new policy, this is just clarifying why when the public comes and addresses us, we will listen to them, we will let them say what they have to say, we will take that information down, and we will follow up with them appropriately.
Thank you very much to the board for allowing that clarification to go forward for exactly those reasons. I always hated having to step away and re-explain it every single time. So thank you guys so much for supporting that language change.
Yeah, so even if the board decided to not approve this, it doesn't change the way those policies work.
Isn't it that they, that this new language adds it into our little speech before they start talking so they hear that part?
Correct.
Whereas before they didn't.
All right, Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
All right, with that, those are the second readings, and those policies are now fully incorporated into our policy manual. Item number 7 in our agenda, this is the Finance Committee report, and I'd like to turn the floor over to our district treasurer, Mrs. Camphouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. The CFO report, monthly financials, and change order listings are attached for your review. 7.02, temporary appropriations, which is our budget for the upcoming year. 7.03 is our county auditor certificate. This document details our expected revenues for the year and provides proof that our spending is within limits for the county auditor's oversight. 7.04, special education contracts and special education transportation contracts. Contracts for the upcoming school year for qualified students per IEP. 7.05, grant funds. To accept the grant, create the new fund, and appropriate the funds to spend for all federal and state grants totaling more than $1.9 million. We work hard as a district to secure and spend these grant funds for the enhanced education of our students. 7.06, independent contractors agreement with Nikki Smith. This agreement will provide careers counseling at our high school to help ease the loss of Gear Up. 7.07, professional dues for the superintendent and the treasurer to join their respective professional organizations for training and public school advocacy. 7.08, the change order, Norwood High School Phase 2 change order number 23. Our architect and general contractor are recommending the lease of temporary air handling units to ensure fresh air return and tempered air heat for the high school while we wait for the delivery and installation of our new air handling units. The new units are delayed by shipping constraints, as we heard, but because of the importance of fresh air to the learning environment, especially in these COVID times, we will be using ESSER grant funds to pay for the emergency rental units. 7.09, resolution to join EPC, Southwest Ohio Educational Purchasing Council. We are joining this consortium, which collects no dues from its members so that we can expand our purchasing options. 7.10, technology asset disposals. This is our routine disposal of unusable technology equipment. And I do have a vote box there for 7.01 to 7.10.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the finance items 7.01 through 7.10 as presented to us.
Second.
Any discussion on these items? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And finally, the last thing, the delegate and alternate for OSBA's annual business meeting, November 12th through the 15th, 2022. The board will appoint the official delegate and their replacement to represent the district at the Capitol Conference.
All right, with that, I would like to make a motion that we appoint Mr. Taylor as the delegate and Ms. Ballard as the alternate. And then I also would like to make one other request. I think it would be worthwhile, since we didn't have an opportunity to do a team building exercise this summer, that all 5 board members see if they can't take the time to attend the conference. I think it's very worthwhile, and it might be a good idea for us to have some team building there on site.
Are we open for discussion yet, or do we need a second?
We need a second first, but that's my thought on this. So does anybody want a
I guess if we have
second?
to open a discussion, then I'll second it so we can have a discussion real quick.
Sure. So it's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I would love to have Mr. Taylor come. I would suggest that it being his first year and first event like this, since he didn't get the opportunity to come with us last November to see it, I would recommend that he be the alternate and accompany me. That way he can see the procedures, see how the delegates participate, and that way he can do it next year. And we can do it together. The alternates are still allowed to participate and come. But that way, if something happens and I can't vote, he would be there to learn and observe.
I agree. Amber was a superstar at the meeting last night. She was recognized by OSBA, the people who are paid to be at OSBA. What are they called? I don't know. But the people who are running the show recognized Amber and the way she handled herself at the delegate, and she really made a difference there for people. And they asked her, please do these more leadership things, because she did it. I think she needs to do it.
Am I missing, does it matter? Am I missing something?
Well, I don't see why Ms. Ballard couldn't mentor Mr. Taylor during this. I mean, it really makes no difference.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just about the voting on record, I believe. That's the only,
Right.
That's the only difference.
I don't see the need to amend my motion.
yeah, especially if we're all, if your motion is we all 5 go, I don't think it matters who's listed. You know what I mean?
That you're going to say something.
What am I?
Mike's getting attacked by
No, nobody
bugs.
saw it except you.
All right, any other
And
discussion?
that's fine.
For some reason-
Is Mr. Taylor able to go? Let's ask him that first. That would be the main question, is he willing to do that and able to attend?
Yes. It's November 12th, yes, it's after football.
Well, it's like 3 days long.
I'll do my own schedule, I'm fine.
All right, Mr. Taylor's available. Alice, are you available to go this year?
Heck yes, I love that thing. That is my jam.
All right.
I can be.
All right. And I can be as well. Any other discussion?
I'll register you all.
Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Miss Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
All right, and that concludes the finance portion of our agenda. Section 8 is the hearing of the public, and I don't believe we have anybody here in person to address us. So we'll move on to Section 9, which is reports. So 9.01 is board announcements. Does any board member have anything that they would like to announce to the group?
I shouldn't, but I'm not good at keeping secrets.
Are you going to announce it?
Yes, because I'm no good at keeping secrets. I'm trying to get an exchange student, and that's why I was late, because I couldn't stop taking pictures to put on the site, and I lost track of time. It's so exciting.
Where would the student be from? What country?
Well, it's not 100%. Like, if all my stuff gets through, she'd be from Germany.
Oh, fantastic.
I think we have one from Germany. didn't we,
Right,
This year.
right. So since there was such a good experience last year, you know, the parent of that student reached out and said, hey, who wants to do this next? So I said, I guess me. So now we're doing it. It's not 100%, I mean, because I'm not finished. It's not secured, but soon we'll know.
It's very generous of you.
And there's another one, somebody else take her, she needs a home. And she's so cute. And the other one's only half a year.
All right. Any other board announcements?
I just want to say thank you to the folks that came and did the health fair on Monday from Children's Hospital, especially to Lauren. She's moving back from Florida. She was a Norwood graduate and wanted to come back home and bring something back to the community. So she's working very closely with the Norwood Health Department. And then they brought in all of these health screening, cancer screening information pieces. They're really doing a good service for us. I really appreciate that relationship.
I went to it, it was good. I got an exam and everything.
I want to make sure we acknowledge our treasurer, Mrs. Camphouse. For those of you that don't know, she received a perfect audit. So we in Finance Committee, we invited her staff in to celebrate with us, but for certain reasons, they can't come in. But so definitely Julie Camphouse, Laura Zimmerman, Heather Cole, no relation to me. Am I missing anybody? Bridget. So we just want to thank the four of you for your efforts in getting through that. That should definitely be acknowledged. And I know you don't want to acknowledge it, but I'm going to acknowledge it anyway.
Thank you.
Because I do think you are a rock star, so.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Love you, Julie.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. Thank you for staying with us.
All right, if that's it for the board announcements, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
And actually, I have a picture of what Amber was referring to. It was the Norwood Cancer Screening and Prevention Fair that was in our field house. And Dr. Lauren Bates, a valedictorian from the class of 2001, led the event, and it was hosted by We Engage for Health, Cincinnati Children's, and UC Health. And then the second part of my report is our Norwood football team was in the news. Coach Caldwell attended the second annual 7-on-7 football event. This is Norwood's first time taking the team. They got to travel to Dayton, play with other teams they've never gotten to play with before, and there were 42 teams across Ohio and Michigan at the event, and it was on Spectrum News 1. So it was an exciting week. My third announcement is Amy Conwell. I saw her walk in back there. She is our new high school Spanish teacher with her daughter. I'm sorry, we already had approved your name and your hire right before you walked in. So we do want to welcome you. So welcome to the Norwood family.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
And we'd like both of our new staff to stay. We have a little celebration after the meeting, and we would like you both to stay. All right. That concludes my report.
We'll move on to the next item in the agenda, and that's the Great Oaks report. I'd like to turn the floor over to Board Member Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was not able to attend last week's meeting with Great Oaks, but I did get our summary report. Mostly the summer is doing construction updates. We're finishing up pieces at Laurel Oaks. We had our Chamber of Commerce meetings, our ODOT updates. We also held our Laurel Oaks open house and summer picnic last Thursday. The other informational piece that might be interesting to Mary, our colleague Deborah Alsop, who you know, is going to be retiring as the Executive Director, CEO of Families Forward, which is the program that she runs, which is a neighborhood-based resource center. So she is retiring, so we want to wish her a big congratulations. And next week, I'll be attending the Ohio ACTE conference in Columbus, which is kind of like the conference that we do in the fall, but for career tech. So I'll be attending that, and next month I'll have a much better report for you guys. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ballard. 9.04 is the Norwood Community Television Board report. I'd like to turn the floor over to Vice President Cole.
Thank you, but we have no report this month.
All right, and then we'll move on to 9.05, which is the OSBA Legislative Liaison Report. So I'm going to take this opportunity, because I don't have anything to report on the legislative side, but I just wanted to take this time to thank Shannon Eshman for all of the years of service to the board. So this is your last board meeting with us?
It is.
It is. So we're going to miss you moving forward, and it's been a joy and a pleasure and an honor to work.
Thank you so much.
But she's not going far.
I'm not
She's
going
not.
far.
Just not coming to meetings.
That's right. No, I really couldn't ask for a better team to work with, so thank you so much. It was a tough decision, but I am excited to work with kids again. Adults just aren't as fun.
And we have a little celebration for
I mean, I'll
you.
make you a balloon.
So you,
I was thinking on the way here, because I was like, we got Mary's contract, and I wanted to acknowledge Julie, and it was your last meeting. I said, just the four of you ladies. I mean, it's just, we are so fortunate. This district is so fortunate to have four rock stars in the positions that we have you guys in.
Thank you. It makes it hard to leave, but I'm not going far.
All right, Ms. Ballard, do you have anything on the legislative front that you wanted to share?
No, our upcoming meeting for that department is in August,
Okay.
up near Yellow Spring. So once we have our regional meeting, I should have more to report.
All right. And then that will take us to 9.06, and that's the Avenues for Success report. And I'd like to turn the floor over to board member Mrs. Rarick.
Well, thank you. As you know, Avenues for Success has been going on some fabulous field trips with their summer program. And that's all the excitement there, and they keep chugging along and swimming and having fun.
All right. Thank you for that. It's always good to go swimming for the young ones.
I know, I saw some kids getting picked up at the pool, and I said, did they? And a parent told me, they go to the pool at the end of the day, and then the parents pick them up there, and I'm like, that's fabulous.
Yeah. All right, well, then that concludes all of the reports. We'll move on to section 10 of our agenda, which is the meeting notification. So it looks like our next meetings are going to be August 9th, still here in the middle school cafeteria at 6 p.m. for the committee meeting, and then August 18th for the regular board meeting here. So,
Mr. President,
yes.
the Southwest meeting that I was talking about is August 9th. So we're running into the same issue we had last year, where they have it on a Tuesday that same week. And I think last year we adjusted it to accommodate. Would that be possible again for next month?
I see no reason why we couldn't do it on Thursday, the 11th. Hold on, we're checking schedules. That will work. So we're going to amend the committee meeting to August 11th, which is a Thursday.
Okay, so it'll be Thursday, and then the following Thursday, the 18th, for the regular meeting.
Correct. And then also on our schedule is we're doing a board retreat working meeting on August 18th, and this is specifically related to future construction. So we're doing a retreat, but we're going to focus on the remaining construction here in the district.
What time is that at?
So that's going to be immediately following our regular board meeting.
Okay, so start same
Oh,
time.
okay, perfect, because I work until 4:30.
No, so we're going to do the board meeting at 6, and we'll get through that, and then we'll do we'll switch straight into the retreat working meeting.
Okay.
So with that, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the committee meeting for August 11th, 6 p.m. here, and the regular board meeting on August 18th, 6 p.m. here, and the board retreat working meeting following the board meeting on August 18th.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Just put it in my calendar.
Mrs. Camp House, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
All right, with that, the only thing left on our agenda is to adjourn. I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.